Welcome to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and I'm joined today by Sam. We're diving into something that's going to reshape how European businesses operate over the next couple of years, the EU AI Act's full enforcement phase, which kicks in August 2026. For anyone in Eindhoven or across Europe building AI systems, this is a critical moment to pay attention.
Thanks, Alex. And it's not just regulatory theater. This is real compliance work with real costs. We're talking $50,000 to $500,000 in implementation expenses for most organizations, depending on their size and complexity. The European Commission's own impact assessment shows about 15% of EU enterprises need to make significant changes before that August deadline.
That's a substantial number. So let's break this down. When we talk about the August 2026 enforcement, what exactly is happening that day? Is this something that flips a switch, or has it been phased in already?
It's a culmination point. The EU AI Act has been rolling out in stages since earlier in the decade, but August 2026 is when full enforcement hits. That means all the high-risk systems, credit decisions, employment screening, law enforcement tools, critical infrastructure management, they all need demonstrable compliance by then. No more grace periods.
And when you say demonstrable compliance, what does that actually look like operationally? I imagine it's not just a checkbox exercise.
It's comprehensive. Organizations need transparency requirements in place, robust data quality standards, human oversight mechanisms that actually work, and bias assessment protocols that are documented and tested. If you're using an AI system to deny someone credit or screen job candidates, you need to prove the system is fair, explainable, and that a human can override it if needed.
That human override piece is interesting. It's saying AI can't be the final arbiter in high-stakes decisions. Why is that so important to the EU's approach here?
It's the heart of European digital sovereignty, actually. The EU is deliberately saying we're not going to adopt an move fast and break things approach that some other markets embrace. Instead, the regulatory framework reflects European values: human-centered AI, transparency, accountability. You keep humans in control of consequential decisions.
So this isn't just about protecting citizens. It's also a strategic play by Europe to establish its own governance model rather than following others. What's the competitive advantage here for businesses that get ahead of this?
McKinsey's research shows companies that build compliance into their product architecture from the start get a 2 to 3 year first-mover advantage in high-risk AI markets. Compare that to organizations trying to retrofit compliance into existing systems. They're spending massive resources just to keep pace. Early movers avoid that trap entirely.
That's a huge difference. And for SMEs, which are a big part of Eindhoven's ecosystem, 2 to 3 years of competitive advantage is almost a different market position. But SMEs often don't have the same compliance infrastructure as big multinational tech companies. How realistic is this timeline for them?
Honest answer? Tight. Most SME estimates are 18 to 24 months for meaningful implementation, and we're already well into 2026. For an organization that hasn't started, they're looking at a crunch. But here's the thing, it's not impossible if you're strategic about it. You don't need to redesign everything overnight. You start with what's actually high risk in your business.
So prioritization is key. Tell us more about that. What qualifies as high risk in the AI Act framework?
The Act has a pretty clear classification system. High risk covers things like credit decisioning, if your AI approves or denies loans, employment screening, law enforcement support, and management of critical infrastructure. Those need pre-market conformity assessments. If you're using AI for general business analytics or customer service, that's lower risk and different compliance requirements apply.
That makes sense. So a manufacturing company in Eindhoven using AI for supply chain optimization would be different from a fintech startup using it for loan decisions.
Exactly. And this is where vertical industry knowledge matters. At EtherLink, we've found that the most successful compliance strategies combine 3 things: regulatory expertise, understanding how to actually build compliant AI systems architecturally, and deep knowledge of your specific industry's constraints and opportunities.
Let's dig into that second piece, architectural compliance. What does it mean to build a system that's compliant from the ground up, rather than trying to bolt it on later?
It's about decisions you make at the design phase. You're building explainability into how the model works, not trying to explain a black box after the fact. You're designing audit trails into your data pipeline. You're architecting override mechanisms where humans can intervene. You're thinking about bias testing and fairness validation as core features, not afterthoughts.
So it sounds like compliance becomes part of your engineering culture from day one.
Precisely. And when you do that, something interesting happens. You often end up with better products anyway. Systems designed for explainability and auditability tend to be more reliable and easier to maintain. You catch problems earlier. It's not just regulatory, it's good engineering.
That's a reframe I like. Now there's another layer here, documentation and governance. Gartner's 2025 survey showed 62% of European enterprises have moderate to severe implementation gaps. What's typically missing?
Documentation is huge. The Act requires technical documentation that demonstrates governance sophistication, what data trained the system, how it handles edge cases, what the known limitations are. Many organizations have AI systems in production, but zero documentation about how they work. That's a compliance nightmare.
And incident reporting too, I'd imagine. If something goes wrong with your AI system, you need to document it and report it.
Yes, you need governance frameworks that specify decision-making authority. Who can override the AI? Under what circumstances? What's the escalation process? These aren't technical problems, they're organizational problems. But they're mandatory, and they're what separates compliant organizations from the ones facing enforcement action.
Let's talk about what happens if you don't comply. What's the enforcement teeth here?
The fines are substantial, up to 6% of global revenue for the most serious violations. That's not a slap on the wrist. It's why organizations are taking this seriously. Combined with reputational damage, potential market exclusion, and the cost of fixing systems later, compliance is the economically rational choice.
So for a business in Eindhoven, what's the practical first step? If someone's listening and thinking, we use AI and August 2026 feels close, where do they start?
Inventory your AI systems. List what you have, understand whether it's high risk or lower risk under the Act, and then prioritize. Audit your documentation. Do you have it? Is it complete? Then start addressing the biggest gaps first. Get external expertise if you need it. Compliance is specialized. And do it now, not in 2026.
That's actionable advice. And I'd add, this is an opportunity, not just a burden. Organizations that get this right build trust with customers, reduce technical debt, and position themselves as leaders in responsible AI.
Completely agree. The competitive landscape is shifting toward governance and responsibility. August 2026 isn't the end of this. It's the beginning of a new era where compliance is a differentiator.
For anyone wanting to dive deeper into this, we've got a comprehensive guide on AetherLink.ai that covers all the technical details, timelines, industry-specific implications, and strategies for both SMEs and larger enterprises. Check that out. It's your roadmap to August 2026. Thanks for joining us, Sam.
Thanks, Alex. And to listeners, start now, be methodical, and remember, compliance is a feature, not a bug.